Okay, so good morning everybody, and welcome to today's Trimble FieldLink webinar. Thank you very much for logging in and joining us. Okay, there's a fair few in the room now, so if it's okay, I'm going to make a start. Okay. So, the webinar agenda for this morning is a short introduction about myself and obviously some of the topics and why we're going to be covering this today on the webinar. Overview of the Trimble Buildings division. The exciting part, my favourite, the Trimble controllers and robotic total stations. Workflow and data preparation and how you can understand that and use that in your current workflows on your projects. Trimble FieldLink software. And also, if technology allows it, I'll give you a short Trimble FieldLink demonstration. You'll see on the right-hand side of your screen, there'll be a drop-down, a question box. So if there's any questions about any of the slides that you've got, then please do type it in. I'll be seeing them on the screen as they come up. But what I'd like to do, if it's okay, is just pay more attention to these towards the end of the webinar. Okay. So, introduction to myself. My name is Barry Monk. I am one of the geospatial sales consultants for KOREC, covering the UK and Ireland. I apologise about the picture. There wasn't a big enough budget for hair and makeup, so I opted for that one there. To contact us during or at any time on from the webinar, please go to our website or email us at info@korecgroup.com, or you can contact the company or any member of the team via the normal social media networks. Okay, so for me, the reason why I've asked to do this webinar today is basically to introduce everything to do with the Trimble FieldLink and Trimble Connect solution that is exposed or can give you exposure within the building and construction environment. What I really like about the solution is it's not just for the bigger projects, if you like, for the more experienced engineers, perhaps with large data sets or larger projects, but it actually helps out those guys that perhaps today are still using perhaps string and tape or even your traditional theodolite. So it helps them to jump up to a next level, to be able to go out to the field with a data set and to be able to lay out efficiently and quickly. So I'll begin really with an introduction to Trimble's core segment focus. So as you can see here, Trimble really bring all elements of the family to your environment, to your project. It could be anything from the agricultural side of Trimble, the heavy civil and construction side, building and construction, which we're going to touch on today, a favorite of mine, geospatial, and also transportation and logistics. So from on there, following on from the Trimble building division, we get exposed really from all areas of the Trimble family. So that can start anywhere from, if we go from left to right, so we start at concept, so it's your conceptual design, conceptual cost modeling, constructible analysis, market planning, and site selection as well. And then we move on into engineering and design, and Trimble bring to the table elements of detailed engineering and design of trades, design coordination and calibration, structural analysis, and also simulation, and not forgetting energy analysis. Then we have the estimating side with WinEst. So this obviously is estimating, gives you budget visualization, cost databases and indexes, and also manufacturing data and pricing that might be relevant to your project. Project planning. So this is scheduled planning, quite important in your project cycle, site logistics and coordination, and project management and cost planning. Again, my favorite, construction, fabrication, It gives you intelligent positioning robotics, which I'm going to touch on more today, as well as mobile field solutions, scanning, and labor, equipment, and material tracking. And the last one, the last one there on the list is commissioning and handover. It brings as-built to the cycle, operating and maintenance documentation, lease management, space planning and management, and also operational and maintenance scheduling. So this is everything really within the family that Trimble bring to the table for you. For me, integrated construction, these two cycles really work hand in hand. So I really wanted to show you this slide. So we have the cycle there on the left, which I'll talk about in a moment, but it breezes quite nicely into the workplace and building portfolio, operations and maintenance, and your capital asset and planning, as well as energy and sustainability. But within the generic cycle, obviously, we bring in here all elements of the family. So anything that you want to do in the way of design, if your project dictates on a larger scale, perhaps machine control, build the building and construction element, but also what's quite important is the site surveying as well. So it's bringing that as-built back into the design. So these are the two cycles there that are more prominent in construction and real estate. Okay, as we move on, now this is something I really want to highlight now. So we're working on a platform here in the world of Trimble FieldLink, which I think is a huge benefit to this cycle, and that's Trimble Connect. So Trimble Connect is our cloud platform. It allows us to bring in project management data, and it allows us to share that information throughout some of the sensors, if you like, or some of the software that you see here on the screen. Anything from Bentley and SketchUp there to pumping out land XML for your piling rigs, and also into machine control. But we can also bring in and understand from the field some of your UAV data as well. So from Trimble Connect, this is our hub to connect the full range of software platforms and sensors into the FieldLink side of things. So next, I just really want to touch on a couple of workflows that I think are quite important out there with building and construction, also in civil engineering. So this is the design workflow. So I'll go into this in a little bit more detail in a moment, but you've got your architect side, perhaps using SketchUp, your structural element of the project design, maybe via Tekla there, including the Trimble MEP designer. But it's all connected and it's all shared in this one cloud environment in the middle that allows us to share that information, adapt that information, but also from an owner's point of view, actually manage everything that's going on there in that environment. Moving on now to collaborate with Revit Models. Again, this is a side that is a huge benefit bringing into Trimble FieldLink. So via Revit, we can bring in the models there from the architect. Again, from the structural side of things with M&P, also including the owner of the project as well. And this is all transferred and built up within Trimble Connect, the online, the cloud platform. And then we move on to the field layout side of things. So it's taking that information maybe from SketchUp or Tekla, loading it up into the Trimble Connect cloud-based platform, and being able to share that with everybody, including being able to pump that information directly out to site, to the site engineer or site management in order to start staking out for construction. The field report side of things, so I just touched on there, obviously when it's out there on site and you're working away with the information, staking out your points, then we're able to upload a number of field reports back up to Trimble Connect. So there is instant visibility, if you like, seamlessly to the project management on site. And this kind of project management, where they come in, they really like this because it enables them to have clear visibility of what's actually going out on the construction site, what's happening, and they can make more precise and prompt decisions as to what to do today or tomorrow going forward with your project. So the Trimble Buildings Field Solutions portfolio. So that, again, this slide brings into a normal cycle, if you like. So we have the data preparation side of your project, bringing it out to the field software via Trimble Connect, and being able to actually use that data with specific robotic total stations and even GNSS, and I'll touch that on that in a moment. Again, if needs be, depending on your project, the personal management side of things. But again, bringing in the 3D scanning solution that Trimble offer to be able to prove the as-builts that are happening out on the construction site, to be able to feed that back into the design, into the office. And again, Trimble Connect is the hub for all of this information sharing. So the juicy side, my favorite side of it, we move on to the Trimble controllers and robotic total stations. Here we have a nice clear color touchscreen Trimble tablet. For me, what I really like about this is the actual lightweight feel of this when it's actually on the pole. So you got your pole, you got your prism on top of the pole, you with your bracket on the pole, with your tablet connected, and it enables you just because it isn't too heavy. There's no strain there for the user. But for me, you just find yourself flowing around the site, picking out points, and it seems to be a lot quicker to actually go out and stake out a point and carry out any tasks that you might have. The robotic side of things, so we have here 4 robotic total stations within the portfolio. So we'll start out with the RTS 655. It's a 5-second instrument. Now this, for me, is really the workhorse if you're in the construction environment. It doesn't have the Trimble Vision loaded on board, but it has the track light capability, so it allows you to line yourself up in the true line of where your point needs to be staked out. So it makes that process quite quicker for you. Again, with all the Trimble products within the portfolio, it comes with the standard benefits of the Trimble mag drive there as well. The RTS 7773, a 3-second instrument. Now from here we start to have the ability to be able to use the Trimble Vision and the camera and the DR capability. And then we move up to the RTS 873. Now you notice here, at first, it's always a little bit of a shock to see an instrument without the eyepiece. But for me, with this instrument, perhaps more so in the MEP area, for most guys setting out point, they don't actually care what's going on behind the instrument at all. The workload and the attention and the focus at all times is always on the pole. So they don't really go behind the instrument at all. So the optics were taken away there. It has the DR, HP, visual layout, and the Trimble Vision camera with a focused green laser. So you've got that benefit of actually being able to use this instrument in an internal environment and clearly understand with the beam where you need to lay out your point. And then we go up to the higher spec instrument. It's the 1 second, the RTS 7771, again with the visual layout with Trimble Vision. But depending on your project and the accuracy that you require on site, this is the highest accuracy instrument within the portfolio. Now, I touched on it briefly earlier that we can use then the benefits of our GNSS system. So we incorporate here the Trimble RTS GNSS receiver. Now, depending on your project, and there's a couple of flavors here that you could potentially use. Obviously, as a base station setup there with your tripod, this will actually look up at the sky as well and take corrections from the satellite it sees and pump those corrections over to your rover. Or depending on your location, then you can log into Trimble VRS and take corrections directly from the website. As long as you've got a SIM card actually installed in the tablet, this is a nice seamless way of working. I suppose pipeline runs, long projects, highways, that kind of scenario is when VRS really comes into its own. Some of the applications that I see, normal uses, if you like, on site. So for this utility side, control points maybe might not be visible on the horizontal plane. Again, I mentioned it a moment ago, long distances need to be laid out, perhaps for footings, pylons, retaining walls, limited line of sight. curbing, landscaping perhaps, and obviously grade, Q&A and QC, as well as checking control. I suppose that's done on a daily basis as well. So workflow and data preparation. So here I quite like this slide, and I mentioned it a little bit earlier. It's all about sharing the information around. So you can start perhaps with the coordinated BIM design, your model in a 2D environment. Push those points through, if you like, from Revit and AutoCAD, or from SketchUp and Tekla, directly out to the controller out on site, which you'll be using the Robotic Total Stations to use for your intelligent positioning. But what's more important there is if you're working, as we mentioned, in the BIM environment, a BIM model really isn't a model until you've actually taken back the as-built information. And that's when the BIM model comes alive. And I'll touch on that a little bit more later with some of the other solutions we can offer into this environment from Trimble. Trimble Field Link Office, again, a desktop software platform, gives you the ability to prepare any data if you're not already using something, you're in the early days, like Autodesk or Revit. So you can prepare this data on any Windows computer, create line work and points, import your 2D design and your models, and really manipulate the data however you wish and prepare it for when you take it out to site, depending on what elements of the design you want to see, and transfer that data, as I mentioned earlier, direct via Trimble Connect. But also you can use the Trimble Connect, just a point here, to review fieldwork productivity out on site. So again, this can come back to the project management. You can understand how far you are along a process and make some informed decisions for the next day or going forward for the rest of the project. Trimble Field Points for SketchUp. So a little bit more detail there, as you can see. What I basically want you to understand here is if you're using SketchUp, then we have that seamless link from what you need to do within the design in SketchUp, and to be able to seamlessly take that out to the field controller and go out and do your layout on your construction site. And again, huge benefit of this is to be able to transfer that data in and out via Trimble Connect. Excuse me. Again, for AutoCAD and for Revit, again, we have the seamless links for whatever you need to do. You can create your points automatically within these software platforms, export directly to the field software, round trip capability. But again, you have the ability there of using Trimble Connect to get the information in and out of the project site. Tekla Layout Manager, already launched, it's already there, included in Tekla. Your standard layout of your components, export them, prepare them, and export them directly again, directly out to the project site. Field Link software, again, one of my favorites. So the Field Link software, for me, there's some information on screen there for you, but what I really like, and I picked up on quite early on with the software, and I made reference to it earlier, is the fact that even if depends on your education level of the project sites that you're actually running at the moment, it might be that you're still using string and tape or your traditional theodolite. But the way the software is designed is it's really intuitive and quite easy to pick up. In fact, training time from the KOREC group is reduced because of the simplicity of use. So if you're at that level and you want to go out and perhaps stake out a few projects yourself, a few housing plots if you like, the system is really intuitive and easy to use. Traditional 2D map view, I'll touch on this in a moment when I do the live live demonstration. So this is an example of your data set as it comes into the software, what it looks like. You see the picture at the top there, so this is quite simplistic. Again, I mentioned that a moment ago. Pick your point on the screen and it gives you this detailed view of how far and in which direction you actually go. There's no other information there on the site, so there's no need to get confused about anything else that's going on. At the end of the day, what's important here is for you to be able to pick a point and lay out that point as quickly as possible, but within accuracy. Mentions there again, once you've staked out a point, you can see just about on the bottom of the screen there a few of the points on green, so they're within tolerance. So it's always warning you and guiding you to that point, so make sure you're there within your accuracies that you require. Trimble Vision, a little look at some of the benefits here. For me, this is a great part of the tool. If you've got a hard to get to area, if you like, on a project site, maybe on the M&P side, and you need to take a quick shot, but you can't quite get there, with the DR functionality and the onboard camera, you can really zoom in quickly and find where you need to be and measure that point. It also takes pictures as well for the validation, so you can output that information directly into a field report and then send that directly via Trimble Connect to the office for project management. Again, in 3D view, and I'll show you a little snippet of this in a moment on live, but for me, being able to orientate yourself in the 3D environment on the controller actually speeds up the process of getting to where you need to be able to stake out the point. So this is really good. And to be honest with you, I don't think the screenshot gives it much justice. You actually need to get it in your hands and get out there and be setting out with it. It really is quite good to work with. Visual layout and layout module. So this is a feature for easy identification and layout of points directly on the surface, either for interior walls or inserted point locations or on the floor or deck. This function enhances the capabilities of the RTS series of instruments, such as the RTS 873, for example, providing flexible use of the DR layout. So this function calculates and adjusts to the correct position on the surface based on the change of elevation of the surface, ensuring that the location of any object is true to the design. So in field applications, a quick capture there of the surface module. So if you're working with a surface design, then Trimble Field Link has a number of functionalities to assist you with that. So what I'd like to do here before I move on to monitoring and as built is I'm going to try now, if technology allows it, to show you a live view of Trimble Field Link. Just want to check actually if you can all see that. I don't know if anybody can send me a message just to say that you can see now, because I've jumped out of another screen. Bear with me one. Just bear with me 1 second. Hopefully technology will allow me to show you this live demonstration. Right, so fingers crossed. I hope you can see this. So this is the platform, the Trimble Field Link software. I've already updated a job within here already, so I'm just going to move this out of the way here. So at the top here, what I quite like about this is simplistic, and again it's quite easy for you guys to be able to pick this up. It's a one icon with a one word description underneath. I think you guys can pretty much tell me what's behind each of these. We then move over to these tabs towards the right hand side. I'll start with the top one at the right there, so I can actually view this now, this model design in different scenarios. So I can take it on looking at it from the side view, I can also have a look at the design from the top, 2D plan mode. But also, I've got the ability to just be able to orientate this in the 3D environment as well. So I can now maneuver the design, so I can look at elements of the design and decide where I want to go through first, or even for orientation purposes. I think this is quite a cool tool to have here. I can also zoom in and out from the toolbar on the side there. Now, what I quite like, I think is quite neat, this is these icons down the side are not too small, so they're quite big. For most guys that I meet, the tablet has your standard stylus for use, so it's totally touchscreen. But these icons are quite big enough so your finger taps on it quite nicely, and it's reactive to your touch on the screen there. So again, it's quite easy. There's nothing complicated there on that side of it. So then we got the information box down the bottom here. So what I want to do is just quickly show some neat things here. The viewing options as well. Some of the guys that I work with, I visit out in the field there. You all have your different way of viewing it, and it actually helps speed up your processes out there on site. So if I've got a number of points there on the screen, I can choose to turn on descriptions or elevation information about the points that are on the screen. But I can also now actually just change the color of how I'm viewing this. So I can view with a black background on, in black background. So if that's easier for you, or I can change that to view in blue line work. And sometimes I actually like to look at it with it as a solid model, and we'll look at that in a little bit in just a moment there. So I'll just turn that off and we'll go back to a white background. Okay, so I want to just touch on if I work on the process of the fact that guys that have never used this before, if you like, perhaps coming up from 2 tapes and a theodolite. And you haven't got desktop software, so you've been given this design from the client or from the architect. So you import this in, create your job on the device, which I've already done, and we can simply go to create. And I've got a few options here that I can choose. I think what I'll go for at the moment is from model. And what I can now do is, if I just zoom in a little bit here, is I've got the opportunity now to create some points that I want on the design. So I'm going to select endpoints, and now with these function buttons here, I've got 2. I can select for a selection window. So if there's just an element of the information that I want to go out and work with, I can use it just purely from the sketch window. And if I tap on create, it then creates that information there, those points directly into the layer of the model. So they're all there, and I can save them if I want to via here. I can save them and create a totally separate layer, so I can come back to it quite easily and quickly later on in the day. Okay, so let's pick something out here within the design. Now I really like this because this is quite a big design. So what I can also do is I can turn on the layer manager. It gives me all the layers, but if I select this element here, it highlights now that information and the layer that's relative to it. So I can jump about the design, picking out objects and shapes if you want, or line work, and just be working directly. If I just turn now everything else off, you can see that all I've got now are those objects within the design. So that's nice and quick and easy. Sometimes it's not always good to have the whole of the design set there, sitting there for you. So what I could do now, if I just choose the other option, I'll just close this down. So we got this here. So if I just create again some endpoints, and maybe we'll go for some midpoints there as well, and I just select the screen. So this is selecting everything that I can see visually here on this screen, and it's created all the points there, but it hasn't created it to the rest of the design network there as well. If I just tap on create, it's then given me all of the points within that design. There's a lot of points there, isn't it? And now I can orientate this, and I can work in the 3D environment if I need to. So if I'm halfway up the stairs, well, I got halfway up the stairs yesterday and I want to continue. Some of these points obviously would already be grayed out in green, obviously with intolerance, because we don't accept any errors. So I can just take off from the rest of the design and go from there. Again, just going back, I can then change the way I actually view this, or maybe in a solid model, and actually really understand the model and orientate it. So I talked a lot about Trimble Connect earlier, and say for example you're out there on the construction site and there's an update to the design, for example. Within the software I can literally go to the login screen here for Trimble Connect, and let's just quickly sign in. So I suppose in this scenario I've had a call from the office. I'm told that there's an update of the design. So I just go into jobs, import. I have the option here, and I suppose you didn't see this, so this is basically the process when you're creating your project right at the beginning. You have the option to take the information that's already on the controller. I can bring it in via a USB stick if somebody's handed me that design from a project meeting, or I got the option of actually going to the cloud. So you can see here now we're already logged into Trimble Connect. So this is a file that potentially for your project, for your whole business, that can be sitting on the Connect server. So I can literally just go into there and start going into some of the information that we're holding on that project, access it, and the idea is to import it straight away. So I can bring in any of the design work that I need to, and just ask it to import it. And now I've got that design and I've got it directly on my controller, and I haven't left the field. I haven't had to go back to the office, plug it into my laptop and enter into desktop software. Haven't had to do any of that. So it's all done for me via Trimble Connect. And that's the beauty of having that on board the software, if you like. So that's just a snippet of the live Trimble of the FieldLink software. Obviously these webinars don't last for long, so there's so much more within the software that we can show you, and the benefits of the FieldLink functionality that you could use out there in the field. I don't get enough time, unfortunately, but we're more than happy to come out and show you this out in your environment, out on your site with your data, and actually understand today of where you are and how Trimble FieldLink can fit into your business. But not only that, how can it progress, not just today, but next week or next year or in 2 years' time. So I was talking to you earlier about everything to do within the BIM environment, and there were other solutions within the Trimble portfolio that we can bring into the construction environment. So one of the things I just wanted to mention was the monitoring side that we offer here at KOREC. So depending on your project, you might have a scenario where there's a delicate area on your project site, and you might want to monitor actually the construction process as it's going on. Is vibration, is the construction process actually going to have an impact into the sensitive area? And that's something we can come and talk to you about and demonstrate to you. We have a range of products from Trimble Monitoring. As you can see there from the pictures, we set up high spec monitoring total stations with prisms or other devices located around your project, and the software is actually driven so it will take a measurement every so often and feed that information directly to yourself or back to the project management team, and alert you actually if there's something dangerous going on with nearby construction. So that's something that we can always bring into your project cycle if need be. And also the scanning side of things. So I mentioned earlier working in the BIM environment, and for me what's quite important about a BIM model is a BIM model actually isn't a BIM model until you've taken the as-built, the actual reality of what you've constructed, and bringing that back into the office and putting that into the software. So with a range of scanning products and solutions that we offer here at KOREC from Trimble, you can literally go out and scan your environment and bring that scan data back into the office and load that into the BIM model. So that makes that a live model, if you like. Excuse me. So I'm coming now to the end of the webinar. So I'm just going to have a look and see if we have any questions. I've got a few moments just to answer some of the questions that are coming in here. One that I can see here is, what size data can field link accept? Well, actually, that's a really good question, because we talked here about some really big data sets, and you saw the 3D model there that I was working with. If I'm totally honest with you, I haven't really come across a data set that we haven't been able to put into the controller. What's important for me, for the end user, is your data set goes into the software and you're able to orientate around that model. So even in the 3D environment, you're able to orientate nice and quick, and there's no lagging in the design as you're moving yourself around it, selecting layers and all that kind of thing. So at this moment, we haven't actually found a data set that we couldn't do that with. The power of that tablet actually copes with most of the data that we're seeing nowadays. But if you are concerned about some of the data sets that you're going to put in, then please do get in contact with us. We can sit down and understand what you're dealing with, and potentially we can just test it, throw it into the software there and see how it manages it. Really good question there, thank you. How easy is it for a non-surveyor to use? Again, an awesome question. I started out with this at the beginning. There were two parts of the webinar, if you like, from the more of the experienced, detailed projects that you've got out there, but also for those guys that are perhaps building themselves up from two tapes, or perhaps the traditional theodolite. Two things I want to say there is the software is really intuitive, so you can pick it up quite easily, but it is quite a daunting thing, even for more experienced guys, to change to a different solution and use another software platform out in the field. And that's one of the things that we work on with you here at KOREC. We have a team of training and technical support guys out in the field, and they will actually come to your project and they will give you training and make sure you're up to that point where you can actually go out there and set out your project on your own without concern, but with confidence. Okay, I'll just make sure. How do you get the plugin for SketchUp? Okay, so I briefly touched on the plugin on the SketchUp side of things, so that's really a good question. Again, two answers to this. The SketchUp plugin is actually directly in the SketchUp extension warehouse. If you want to know a little bit more about how you do that, then please do get in contact. We've actually got your details, so perhaps we'll be in touch after the webinar and we can understand more of your workflow and how you're managing that. How easy is it is the next question. We're getting some really good questions today. How easy is it to set up Trimble Connect in the field and in the office? Okay, so we touched on that earlier, and I didn't really, if you like, go into too much detail. Within the software, there is the element there that you can go into on the controller and put in your login details, if you like, and a password. So it via the internet, it logs you in directly to the cloud. Very easy to set up on the controller, very easy to set up in the office. But again, you know, there's no need to worry about this too much. It's part of the consultation process here from us at KOREC, and we can sit next to you and actually guide you through that if you need to. But it is quite a simple process. Okay, so it looks like that is all of the questions we've got. There's a few more there, and I'm running out of time. So what we'll do is we'll actually get. There was a really interesting. I like this to be live and more human, so I'm going to answer this question. This question just come in. How can Trimble Connect help England with the Six Nations? Awesome question. I think really if Trimble Connect was a huge benefit within the Six Nations, then they'd already be using it right now. And if they're not, they should be. Okay, so thank you very much. Thank you for joining us today on this webinar. Again, I touched on the fact earlier that if you have any more questions, you'd like to understand this solution and how it can fit into your business, then we have my colleagues are spread all over the UK and Ireland, then please do get in touch and we'll be more than happy to visit you in your environment and discuss your requirements with you. So thank you very much for joining, and hopefully we'll talk to you soon. Thank you.